Welcome to Inkonversation, the podcast that fuels your entrepreneur spirit, brought to you by Inkomoko. We deliver thought-provoking conversations with industry leaders, game changers, and unsung heroes, all making an impact in their communities and shaping the future of business. Let's grow together and transform the world, one business at a time.
Welcome to the Inkonversation podcast. My name is Barbara Mutoni, the Director of People and Culture at Inkomoko. With a passion for talent identification and management, I'm looking forward to an engaging conversation with the talented Yordanos Asmare, Head of Talent and Partnerships at Africa to Silicon Valley. To kick this off, could you introduce yourself and your career?
Thank you for having me. Like you said, I am Yordanos Asmare, currently heading up talent and partnerships at Africa to Silicon Valley, A2SV. A bit about my background. I was born and raised in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, a country in the Horn of Africa. I graduated from Stanford after receiving a merit-based scholarship. And since then, I have built my career in Silicon Valley, now over a decade. That's wild to think about how long it's been. But the majority of my career was spent in Silicon Valley working with a diverse set of companies at various growth stages and complexities of businesses. Luckily, I've gotten to work at a venture capital firm, a boutique recruiting firm, and in-house as well, and have gotten to consult and advise different startups and organizations for various type of challenges in recruiting, talent, program management, operations, etc. Before I started my career in Silicon Valley, right after college, I was working in community advocacy and community organization. Besides work, I'm an avid reader. I like to think of myself as a poet and writer in progress. Knock on wood, there will be a book published in the future. That's a dream. I also enjoy watching sports like football, not American football, the actual football, the NBA, volleyball, track. I was a varsity athlete myself in high school, so I enjoy that still. And connecting with the different arts communities and finding time to nurture relationships outside of work.
As the saying goes, poetry can be the breath that gives life to your own unique voice. It must be interesting to be interested in poetry. How do you find an intersection between your creative side, tech life, and values?
Interestingly, there is a natural synergy, if you will, between the three things you just mentioned. For me, without even knowing it from an early age, I've been attracted to words. As an adult, I've described myself as a logophile, which is someone who loves words. So reading books, creating my own poetry. There was in middle school, I had enough poetry, a lot, at least to my young mind then, that I thought could be published into a book. And that never happened, but that dream lived on. In high school and college, I continued writing. And even after college, I continued writing as well. I had blogs I used to share my work through. And it was all very fun, but it was also cathartic. In addition to that, connecting to the professional world, it helped me be very deliberate and learn how to express myself, express complex thoughts into words easily accessible and digestible to others. Taking that and understanding how that is such a key skill in the professional world, whether in my own job search and taking what I've done and translating that into experiential packages that can help me present myself well and ultimately land a job, or helping others do the same for their own career and experiences. If it's about community, or if it's about a company value, how do you then create the story that connects with others? That's a lot of what you learn in the creative writing side, whether that's poetry or prose or other layers. So it's very much connected, and thankfully it all flows together. So I haven't had to struggle to bring those connections to life.
So, as someone who has studied and worked in Silicon Valley, how would you describe its culture in comparison to any other cultures you have experienced?
So usually for people like me that come to America as immigrants, the culture shock happens when you start life in America. For me, that's not really when it happened. I went to an American international high school, so I had that early experience that prepared me well for what to expect in America. So the big culture shock for me really happened when I entered Silicon Valley, the workforce after college. And the reason was multitudinous. And what I mean by that, Silicon Valley is such a different world in terms of how much money flows and how ideas are celebrated and how a simple idea can mature into a full-fledged business that creates billions of dollars in market value and returns to investors and employees. It's such a wildly different world than what I grew up hearing about or even envisioning. And it was certainly not something my parents or my community knew about or prepared me for growing up. Mostly what I heard and what I was preparing for growing up was you are a smart student, you do good in school, you go to college, you get a job, you save monthly, and maybe have a family afterwards. You help your community and family back home. That was it. It's a very linear sort of path. But Silicon Valley, with college dropouts, folks coming from different backgrounds and walks of life, and yet doing this sometimes an impossible dream, building something that never existed before, or optimizing on something that existed in a very specific or rigid form and taking it in a different manner. That was very exciting to be close to that and to be part of that world. At the same time, it was very jarring to see millions of dollars being invested in these ideas that weren't yet adding value to society, or invested in ideas that were just apps and that were contributing in ways that didn't really feel impactful. Especially considering my background, I felt tech had such a potential and wasn't really reaching that potential in the way I was seeing it being used in Silicon Valley. The other thing was young people had such capital in Silicon Valley. So, these 20-year-olds, either right out of college or having dropped out of college, were receiving tens of millions of dollars to build companies. In my community, it's usually the older people that are revered and shown deference and followed. And it was the opposite in Silicon Valley. So there was just a lot of differences in the culture, in the life. And for me, I was taking notes. And it also helped me get over my imposter syndrome in a lot of ways, because it made me question, what do I bring to the table? How do I work? And where do I want to work? And what are the things I want to invest my energy and time on? Because I worked hard. I got to that point through that hard work, but I was still questioning myself, and working with these investors and young people that were taking their dreams and making them a reality really pushed me to consider possibilities beyond those I had thought were possible for me. So it was eye-opening, to say the least.
It's always great to see someone who embraces diverse cultures. We have a lot to learn from each other within our global communities. So, what inspired you to join Africa to Silicon Valley? And what excites you most about its mission and the impact?
I mentioned to you, I felt Silicon Valley was insular, and I still feel that. And that you see a lot of the ways tech is being used, but it's still not reaching the full potential, especially in serving and impacting communities that could really benefit from the power of tech. So at one of my employers, I was serving as a head of talent. It was a global tech company. And during one of my conversations with one of the machine learning engineers, he was also a non-US team member coming from Turkey. And we were chatting about what we were seeing, how we were growing, disenchanted, if you will, with what we were seeing of tech and how it was being utilized. And both of us feeling like there was more to be done, especially using tech to impact the broader community. And so I got to talk to him about Ethiopia, my background, and how we both wanted to use tech to do more with it. And so that created the original idea for A2SV. He took the idea and the suggestion I shared with him about Ethiopia and came to Ethiopia to start lecturing and helping students find opportunities at top tech companies, helping them prepare for their engineering interviews. And that later on became Africa at Silicon Valley, A2SV. So for both of us, it became a personal mission to share this opportunity and the potential for tech, and more specifically, to minimize the gap that exists between talent and opportunity, because both of us were a testament that talent exists beyond the walls of Silicon Valley or the US, and we wanted to nurture that and show the world. So joining A2SV now as a full-time executive member was a no-brainer. I was helping out as a board member and consultant before then, and the mission still resonates with me personally. So since 2019, we've been doing this work, and since 2022 as a formally incorporated NGO, and we've had over 60 of our students gaining placement either as a full-time employee or intern at companies like Google, Meta, Bloomberg, Databricks, etc., because these students come back and help us now create these ventures that are vehicles for other students to learn, but also vehicles to give back to the community by addressing real challenges faced locally. So I'm excited to see A2SV launched in every country in Africa. Currently, we're reaching about 25 African countries through in-person and remote education. Our in-person hubs are Ethiopia and Ghana. So it's a dream for us to have A2SV in all 54 plus countries in Africa.
Speaking about talent, how do you identify and select talented students for this program, and what qualities do you look for?
So to answer your question, one context specific, our demographic, currently our target group is college and university students. So we go about it, one, by partnering with universities and colleges. So currently we have partnerships with 4 universities, 3 in Ethiopia and 1 in Ghana. So we're continuously looking for more partners to bring A2SV to other African countries. The other way is through what we call community education. So we use our marketing efforts and channels and our initiatives, such as the hackathon, to create broader visibility of our programs and offerings. And that brings a lot of interest to be part of the A2SV program. So through our community education, we currently have about 8,000 members. We create a way for these students to really show us beyond their grades and their enrollment in a university or college program, their commitment to improving and to learning and to giving back to their community. So there's an assessment we do before students start their journey with us. And there are daily coding challenges that they do as well. And we look at their improvement over time to really see their dedication and commitment to learning new things and improvement from that. So through those initiatives, it gives us a pipeline of enthusiasm and committed students.
Great opportunities for students. Yeah. So you mentioned something about A2SV having partnerships with leading tech companies like Google and Meta. What are some of the challenges students overcame? Can you share some success stories of A2SV students who have benefited from these partnerships?
What we've seen, and I've seen this through one-on-one coaching sessions with students as well, after they go through the training, technical skills wise, they're excellent. We've seen our students are 35 times more likely to succeed in a Google engineering interview than other candidates. Where they struggle is on the soft skill part, and especially in the interview prep where it connects to them presenting their experiences, their strength, and really making a good case that differentiates them from other candidates. To be fair, I'll say that I've seen this challenge with experienced candidates as well. When I worked in Silicon Valley companies, helping other candidates, whether it's a tenured candidate with 10 plus years of experience or junior candidates, this seems to be a consistent issue of how do you tell your story? How do you present your experiences from a position of strength? Connecting that to our students, it becomes even more difficult because they haven't seen how what they bring is actually valuable to these companies. In addition, at least with the Ethiopian culture, and I've seen this also in other African cultures, talking about yourself is considered overconfidence and not a good trait to have. But unfortunately, that backfires and that doesn't help them during interviewing or during their entrepreneurship and other training skills. So we really focus on bringing that out and helping them understand this part is not about being overconfident. It's about showing what you can bring to the table and how you create that effective narrative about your experiences and your talent. So it's a combination of life coaching, problem solving, and really giving them the right mindset to succeed. So that soft skill has become a key point of training for us because of that. As far as success stories, like I mentioned, we've had over 60 students having reached placement, whether that's full-time or internship. But also beyond that, we have these projects that we're developing to really address some of the community challenges we're facing. We were able to exhibit 6 of our projects at GITEX Marrakesh recently, where the students presented their projects, the impact, the value to the world, and were received very well. And even one of the projects reached semifinals at the pitch competition. And all of the projects are doing really well. And more projects are coming from each generation of our students. So we're really excited about that possibility of giving back to the community in concrete ways too.
I do agree. Soft skills are incredibly important in jobs as they complement technical and these hard skills. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You are quoted in the expert's guide to data-driven recruiting as saying, if you incorporate data in every step of the recruiting and hiring process, it surfaces things that surprise you and make the team more efficient. Could you expand on that?
Yes. So numbers they could be scary, especially in a world where you are dealing with huge volumes of candidates and stakeholders internally and externally, and where it feels like you have to really focus on the experience you're providing while at the same time striving for a certain performance. Recruiting is very much like that. I've learned when you use data as a complementary and integrative tool, it can really help you become efficient. What do I mean specifically about this is recruiting, there is a funnel. Each part of the funnel and the process you follow to scale a team, to create a team, has those data points you can track, both to predict, to diagnose, and to fix what might be broken, what might not be going as well before it gets to a really critical point. Having the right data metrics can really help create that trust and build it, and identify where there are areas for further collaboration. If you know from the beginning, there are a certain number of candidates you need to talk to at the recruiter screen stage in order to hit the next goal of having, say, a certain number going into the homework assessment or hiring manager interview, but that is not happening as predicted, then going back, you know exactly what to look for and what to dig deep into instead of feeling panicked and not really knowing where to tackle the issue or what to focus on. So it's, in a way, great way to really surface up the important factors and save you time by allowing it to be very targeted in the way you diagnose and prognosticate from there.
I fully agree. Making data-driven decisions is a smarter strategic approach. So fully relate to what you're sharing with us. I've been lucky to work with you for the last couple of months in revamping our hiring processes as we scale. How has this process looked like to you?
It's been really fun and wonderful to work with you and the Inkomoko People and Culture team. It's similar to some of the other organizations I've worked with where, you're figuring out some of the foundational practices as you look to scale and optimize. So you're in that transition point where what you have works to an extent, but you also want to have the long-term view of how to scale it and make sure it's optimized enough to support that projected scale. So there are growing pains that are not unique to Inkomoko, of course, and this exciting vision you're working towards. What's been really thrilling and encouraging is you have a great team, as I've shared with you in person as well, a team devoted to creating a great culture, great candidate experience, and helping the company achieve this future goal in the best way possible. So seeing that commitment and alignment on vision and value is always wonderful and a great indicator of success, both in the present and in the future to come. So it's been wonderful to work on that, and the humility and desire to change, to learn, to grow has been so great to see. And so it's made me even more excited to offer what I can and do more research to pull in other resources as well, and really support you and the team to achieve the goals we've set out at the beginning.
Thank you so much. It's been humbling learning from you, and I'm sure the team can say the same. So at Inkomoko, we believe that all problems on the continent already have solutions on the continent. Africa to Silicon Valley shares that opinion. What unique strength do African talent bring to the global stage, and how can this be better recognized and used to solve the continent's problems?
I cannot agree with you on this anymore. We definitely share that sentiment, and we've proven that through the work we do as well at, like you said, at Africa to Silicon Valley. The unique strength I would say that African talent bring to the global stage is one, you may know this already, but Africa has the youngest majority population currently. And so there is this energy and desire to build, to own their narratives and to own their future that is propelling the youth to different futures, different possibilities. But that comes with the understanding of community and how one small thing could go the distance. So in the US, there's a lot of saturation if you want to do something, and the dollar doesn't go as far as it would, say, in the continent. And so there is that understanding of what you could do can have a large ripple effect. And we see that, for example, with our students, even after having internships at Google or Databricks, they're coming back to their communities and native countries and building projects that have a larger impact. So that strength of being able to merge that possibility that goes beyond what they see locally, but then being able to bridge that global mindset to the local connections in a way that's going to have broader ripple effects, it's such a huge strength. And I see a lot of that in the African talent. And tech is just a tool to better lives. It's not the end all. And that is a unique strength that I see in the groups we work with and beyond even A2SV and the talent that I see coming out of Africa. So I hope with the work we do at A2SV, we continue to nurture that, and there will be more opportunities to really help the youth succeed and accomplish their vision there.
In Inkomoko, we've actually created roughly about 40,000 jobs through our entrepreneurs. But that doesn't dent the entirety of the problem. What is your view on how we can combine the desire to display African talent on a global stage with the need to address the continental employment crisis?
I heard this line that resonated with me. The founder was talking about how she always sought to be at the tables others created, and she realized, why don't I create the table and they can come? I can invite them. And that shift of perspective was very powerful. And in connecting it to your question, displaying African talent on a global stage, showing it to the others in a way, yes, it works to bridge the gap, to show what we can do, but we can create these successful companies on the continent ourselves. We can use our talent, and the world will see. It's a matter of time, yes, but it's also, if we do it well, they have no other choice than to see what is possible and what is accomplished. And we're already seeing a lot more investments and a lot more interest coming into the continent, and that will only continue. But it needs to be done at least with the understanding of the unique value we're creating for ourselves first, and taking that into the global world.
As we come to the close of this, what advice would you give to young African students aspiring to enter the tech industry?
So one is, like I said, understand what it is that you want to do with tech, because it's really a tool. It's not the end all. So connect it to the bigger purpose and the bigger value that drives and motivates you to your purpose in the world. And second is, understand you have strength to offer the world, to offer the tech industry. So really think about your story and the experiences and skills that make you a solid, if not differentiated candidate in the market. And third is, be intentional about where you're seeking employment, mentorship, experience, because not all doors or not all paths are beneficial and fruitful. So be intentional and targeted on that. And the last thing I'll say is, right now there's a lot coming out of the tech world, a lot of shiny tools, and all this means a lot of noise. So find a way to not be distracted by all that noise, and really find ways to identify the signal from that noise.
Thank you so much again, Yordanos. We do appreciate you speaking to us, sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Barbara.
At Inkomoko, we're dedicated to empowering entrepreneurs across Africa with the tools, resources, and knowledge they need to flourish in today's competitive business landscape. Now we're bringing that passion to this podcast, taking you on a journey through inspiring stories from around the globe.